How to take notes. In this video, I'm going to give you my 15 tips on how to take better notes. First of all, why should we want to take better notes? In the 1970s, developmental psychologist Michael Howe discovered that you were 7 times more likely to remember what you learned in a lecture if you took notes. Taking notes in class is valuable. But there's another important thing to know. The average student writes 1/3 of a word per second. The average teacher will say 3 words per second. So you need to learn an efficient, fast, effective way to take notes. This is my 15 tips. Number 1, decide what's best for you, computer or paper. Handwritten notes. A Princeton study in 2014 determined that a student taking notes on a laptop averaged 310 words taken in notes. The person who was writing it by hand was only able to write down 173 words in the 15 minutes. So it, on the surface, looks great. Write with a laptop. You'll be able to write down more information. Well, actually, what happened is the people who wrote it out by hand actually ended up remembering more than the people who just typed it into their laptop. Now think about that for a minute. Why could that be? Well, the first thing is when we are typing in what the teacher said, sometimes we're just typing it in word for word. We're not using our working memory. We're not thinking about it. We're not engaging our brain. We're just typing out what they say word for word. The person, however, who is writing the notes in their journal, they're actually having to think about it as they're writing it. They're actually having to determine, is this good? Is this not good? Do I put this in? Do I not put this in? They're writing the important stuff. They're thinking about it as they're writing it out by hand. Therefore, the person who writes it out by hand is probably at a little bit of an advantage. However, if you are dead set on typing it in on your computer, then just tell yourself, hey, I just need to focus in on the important stuff here. I need to not just try to take notes and type everything they say, but really pay attention to the main points. I would also suggest that you turn off Facebook and all social media if you're on the computer. You will be less focused if you have the temptation of social media right there on your laptop. Point number 2, and I think this is such a great one. The day before the lecture, whatever the topic is, if you have a textbook relating to that topic, skim through that chapter that the teacher is going to teach on. Take notes on the main points. Write the main words. Write out the things to look for. The day before the lecture, do a little bit of preparation work, and when you take notes, your notes will be more effective. Point number 3, use erasable pens so you don't have to cross stuff out. If you don't mind having a bunch of things crossed out, fair enough. But use erasable pens if you want to be able to erase and keep your notes looking neat. Point number 4, use the outline method. The outline method is when there is a main statement, you make that in bold, and then the supporting points you put in bullet points underneath. And then if there is an example that supports one of those bullet points, use an arrow pointing to support the main point with an example. Tip number 5, use colored pens. Sometimes colors engage our memories. If you use a different color for each topic, or maybe one color for conclusions, one color for questions, then that's going to engage your memory. And when you're thinking about your notes, you will remember those colors that stood out, and you might remember your notes better. Tip number 6, you're writing 1/3 of a word per second. Your teacher's talking at 3 words per second. Use abbreviations as much as possible, but abbreviations that you will understand later when you go back and look at your notes. Wait a minute. What did I write here? What did this mean? This makes no sense. I don't know what that abbreviation means. Tip number 7, leave space for drawing diagrams later. So if you're taking your notes along and then there's a diagram that you think that you could draw that would help your understanding, leave space there and then keep taking your notes, and then later go back and draw a diagram. Sometimes diagrams will help you understand the concept better, but you got to leave space while you're taking the notes. Tip number 8, review it the next day. Sounds simple. Sounds so obvious. Review it the next day. It's going to cement it more into your memory when you do. But do an active review, not a passive review. Don't just reread your notes. Look away, see how much of your notes you can remember, and then go back and look at them. Don't just read your notes again. You might be tricking your mind into thinking that you know more of what you know. Number 9, don't just review it the next day. Redraw any diagrams the next day. Redraw it. Maybe even rewrite out as much of your notes as you can remember the next day. Point number 10, before you start taking the notes, indent about 20% in, and draw a line down the page. And leave that indented area for when you are done taking notes to go back in and write out the main points or write cues or memory tricks that's going to help you remember what you took in your notes. But you have to indent so you can go back later and take notes and write your notes in the margin. Notes on your notes. You're taking notes on your notes. Tip number 11. After you're done taking your notes, write out a summary of your notes. This week I read a book by Isaac Watts called The Improvement of the Mind. Do you know what I did after I read the chapter? I wrote out a summary of the chapter in my own words. It will strengthen it in your memory if you write out a summary of your notes after you have taken your notes. Tip number 12, use the mind map method. A guy named Tony Buzan, who started the World Memory Championships, he was a big fan and maybe one of the beginning teachers of the mind map method. The mind map method is this. You start in the center of the page and you draw a circle and you write the main topic in that circle. And then each of the subpoints are little branches that you draw off the main point. And then on those branches, you have more points that go off those branches that support those ideas. This drawing out of a mind map gives you a visual representation of your notes. Tip number 13. This is somewhat of not an always a possible way, but if it is possible, it's a great way. Get a copy of the slides from your lecture. A lot of teachers will give you the slides from their lecture. Get the copy of the slides, print them off, and then just take notes on the slides. And then when you go back and review, you have a real chronological visual representation of the lecture and your notes there. If possible, it's a great thing to do. Tip number 14, write out conclusions, not facts. For example, if you're listening to a lecture on World War II, if you wrote out the facts, Pearl Harbor occurred on December 7th, 1941. If you just write out the facts, this many people were killed, it was done by the Japanese. If you just write out the facts, it might not be as effective as writing out the Japanese attacked the United States on December 7th because. In other words, you were taking notes on the conclusion, not just the facts. Tip number 15. Whatever the topic is, write out questions maybe before the lecture. And then whenever your teacher answers them, you can write out the answers. That is a great way to remember more of what you take notes on. I hope you enjoyed this video here on how to take better notes. We got lots of study skills videos, lots of study tips videos. I'm a two-time USA memory champion. I used to hold the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards in the United States. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Comment below with some of your note-taking tips. Also, I have a memory course called Black Belt Memory. Down in the description, I have a link to it. It's going to really improve your memory. It's going to help you remember your notes, remember what you read, give speeches without notes, improve your grades. It is a great tool for any student. Check it out in the description below, blackbeltmemory.com. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. I'd love to go and heart and thumbs up and all that on comments. I'll see you on the next video.